going to be facing off against Ukraine in that grand final. Dan, we're going to be seeing Evolved Shaman with Sea Giants as well. But just for Druid at the moment, I mean, it just looks like regular map Druid.
Now this I am surprised to see, because I was expecting to be immediately surprised by Team Czech Republic as soon as we saw an opening hand. But nope, Spreading Plague, Swipe, Innovate, pretty standard.
How would you be surprised with Druid though? Let's be honest. Like, okay, they could go aggro Druid, but still that's not really that surprising either. Nice start for United States though. They've got the Mulligan, got the Bloodsail Corsair, so Patches is going to be drawn out as long as they don't draw him on their first turn.
It also could just be the case that Czech Republic are starting with their more standard decks, their more standard classes. Czech Cloud was saying to me, you know, it's important in this format that we don't give too much away. We have to play the same decks tomorrow if we make it through to the final. We don't want to give anything away to Ukraine in case we win.
So the Jade variant is being run by Czech Republic here. Of course, we saw the Jade variant lose in the previous encounter between South Korea and Ukraine, but Jade Idol ripped off the top, which we also saw in the previous game as well. I wonder whether that's going to be a bit more friendly to the Czech Republic boys here.
Yeah, there are several viable Druid decks at the moment, but Jade Druid is widely regarded as one of the very best. It's been consistent ever since the mechanic came out in Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. The new tools like Spreading Plague have only gone to buff the deck a little bit more. And Skulking Geist exists now, great. It doesn't seem to be quite good enough to stem the tide.
And the only problem, I say the only problem, there's a lot of problems when you're facing off against Druid at the moment, but that Spreading Plague that's in the hand of Czech Republic. Naturally, as Evolved Shaman, you're going to build up that board as wide as possible, but then you are going to be immediately punished by bombardment of 1/5s.
But, and there is a big but here, because I've played a little bit of this matchup recently, and yes, while it does feel good as the Druid to suddenly have a wide board from nowhere to contest your opponents, Devolved Bloodlust.
Okay.
The Shaman just wins the game immediately if they happen to have those cards in hand.
It's what they've always done. I mean, since Frozen Thrones come out, of course, we've just seen additions of cards. We haven't really seen anything kind of really meta-breaking, nothing crazy. Of course, there's been very strong cards added to already strong decks, and that's what always happens when you get this new rotation. Of course, no cards rotating out, just new cards coming in.
Yeah.
And Evolved Shaman, of course, the new Death Knight is how they've kind of gained a little bit more power. They can evolve something twice with that Death Knight when it's played.
It's a huge difference. Subtle touched upon it earlier. The difference between a rotation, a proper rotation, and just a new expansion being added. A proper rotation changes everything, mixes the entire game up. This sort of just adds extra little tools to the decks that are already good, and will create occasionally the odd new meta deck here. And that's what we've seen this has done so far. Things may change over the next few months. I'm sure they will. Don't forget, Evolved Shaman didn't even exist really until a solid 2 months into the Ngoro meta.
Yeah,
so a lot of things can still change.
They could definitely change in United States with a little bit of a decision here how they want to play this one out. I wonder whether they are going to be considering the fact that Spreading Plague is a possibility on 5 and they don't want to go too wide. You need to put something on the board though. You need to start generating a little bit of pressure. And of course, Patches being drawn is important because you don't want to leave it too long before you start slamming pirates on the board, because otherwise you just get punished by drawing it.
It's sort of an unfortunate position for Dog to be in here because he's got none of his sort of value generation cards in his hand. There's no Primal Fin Totem, no Mana Tide Totem, none of the stuff that you kind of need to put down early and that will keep spitting out resources. Unfortunately, the minions that Dog has put on the board now, United States lose them all. They've kind of got nothing to follow up with, nothing to refresh the board with afterwards.
And that Wild Growth was actually a really important draw for Czech Republic as well. This turn, they would have been tempted for Innovate into Spreading Plague, perhaps. But now the Wild Growth, they could just naturally ramp up, save that Innovate for a little bit later. They've got Nourish for ramp as well, draw Ultimate Infestation and win the game. That's how it works, right? That's what Reddit told me.
I've got to say, I think Spreading Plague may still be tempting here. The fact that it's only turn 3, you'd be putting 3 1/5s on the board. That's a lot of competition for the little things that Dog can put out at the moment. And if Yara and Team Czech Republic can use these 1/5s to control the boards in the early game, then they could just dominate way into the mid game as well.
Now, something interesting that I'd like to bring up is lip reading. Now, of course, lip reading is a possibility here, but United States, they're speaking English, but of course, Czech, they won't be. So a little bit of an advantage there.
Sure.
If the Czech can peek over, notice a little bit of lip reading, so you're gonna have to be a little bit subtle. You can notice Dog kind of turning his head down a little bit, keeping his chin towards his chest so that his opponent can't see them.
It's got to be tricky though, right? Imagine trying to play Hearthstone in one language and trying to read the lips of another language while you're trying to talk to your team. I mean, there's multitasking and then there's that.
Hey, they're pro players for a reason, Dan.
Meanwhile, Yara is just ramped up with everything he's got. It looks like he's kind of all in banking on drawing either his second Nourish or, of course, the big guy, Ultimate Infestation, the card which could single-handedly in a couple turns swing this game into the Druid's favor.
It could. I think Spreading Plague is going to be very important here. United States, they're starting to go wide now. They do have that Bloodlust that is available, but you're completely right. Something like a Devolve plus that Bloodlust would be fantastic for them, but they haven't really generated that much pressure, and this is going to generate pressure. Coin out the Evolve, start to beg the questions already.
Okay, that evolves okay. You get a 4-2, which is fine. With the Death Rattle, draw a card. That's actually probably the best result that Dog got there. Unfortunately, 2 mana 1-1, not so hot. 1-3, it's about as good as the card was before.
It's not the worst evolve I've ever seen, but I think now Spreading Plague into this is quite juicy.
Yeah.
You've got Wrath as well to follow up to kill the Hoarder, and then you're in a comfortable position as Czech Republic. You've got to follow up a Primordial Drake, and then suddenly it's how do you get back into this game as the United States? They've used one Evolve, because one comeback mechanic is, of course, Doppelgangster into Evolve. So now they'll be hoping to draw both of those at some point, if they do fall behind on the board.
There, as you suggested, Spreading Plague comes down. Getting 4 1/5s with Taunt does seem like a pretty good use of a 5-mana card. What USA will have been trying to do is stabilize this board nice and big so that they can Bloodlust on 5. But this does make it difficult. Dog doesn't even have the option to play Bloodlust here, and he hasn't played any totems yet. So that 6-mana 5/5 is still a 6-mana 5/5.
And this is why everyone was saying that Spreading Plague was going to be the aggro killer. I mean, I know it's not been the aggro killer that we thought it was going to be, because Pirate Warrior has still been very successful throughout ladder and tournaments. But against Evolve Shaman, against a token-based deck, it is really powerful, and it makes it very awkward because a 1/5 minion is so difficult to trade into.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot in the past about how there are sort of aggro face decks and there are aggro widespread board control decks. And it seems that that is the type of deck that this card particularly counters. And has done a pretty good job here so far. No Devolve yet in Dog's hand, and not really the mana to be able to afford to play it just yet anyway.
So the Fandral makes an interesting decision now for Czech Republic. Fandral into Wrath, of course, you get the draw and you get the damage, or you could just Primordial Drake and try and clear up this board a little bit if you are worried about maybe the Death Knight coming out. I mean, you are concerned about that now turn 5's coming up.
Yeah, Thrall coming down on turn 5 would be a disaster with 4 minions on the board. Even 3 or 2 minions on the board, that can be a pretty hefty swing. So I'm not surprised at all to see this Primordial Drake come down, clear up that board, and make sure that there is not going to be any board for Thrall to be evolving.
And I think everyone's kind of working out as well what the worst case scenarios are when Thrall does come down. Everyone got to the point where they knew what was bad, what was good when you evolved with Doppelgangsters. And now it's you've got to kind of double that. You've got to say, well, what happens when I evolve something twice? What's bad, what's good? Sea Giant comes off the top. Plenty of minions on the board, so that's a nice 5 drop there.
It works, right? 4 mana 7/7s, 5 mana 8/8s, you know? Just shaman things. This one doesn't have any overload, though. And is going to do something to swing the board back. Yes, Yara can play Fandral and Wrath, and then, I guess, trade Primordial Drake in. Actually, no, he can't, because the other taunt's in the way.
The taunt is in the way, unfortunately. And I remember speaking to Dog before this game, and he was saying, I really hope I don't face up against Druid in the first game. But I was like, Dog, I mean, you're probably going to face up against Druid in the first game. Most people, I would have thought, are going to bring it. He thinks he's low-rolled a little bit if he does face off against a Druid, but, you know, it happens.
Yeah, well, again, if the first series that we saw today, Ukraine versus South Korea, was anything to go by, maybe it should have been expected. But Dog doing okay at the moment. He's got the board down, he's got a bigger hand than Yara. Of course, that all changes if Ultimate Infestation gets picked up.
I mean, 21 cards left, 2 Ultimate Infestations in there. Off the top would be perfect for them, right?
I mean, Ultimate Infestation is like a good Gadgetzan Auctioneer turn in 1 card.
Or good yogg, as you like to say sometimes.
Just a consistent
yogg, right? Perfect yogg.
Yeah.
As now Yara's going to start doing some damage of his own, leaving the 8/8, of course. There's not really much you can do about it. Aya off the top is perfect for the curve as well. So United States doing well with their draws. It seems to be going perfectly. And Sea Giant is something that was included very late into Evolve Shaman. I know you said that Evolve Shaman came in late during Ngoro, but Sea Giants came in even later. People were like, hey, actually, Sea Giants are pretty good.
Problem is with Aya here is that it's just a 1/1 Jade Golem. Ideally on turn 6, you'd love to slam down Aya, get a Jade, then get another Jade, have this huge board appearing out of nowhere, but it's just a 1/1. And then the next one's just a 2/2. And that Wrath Oh boy.
Yeah, that Wrath's would really help. I mean, drawing into Ultimate Infestation would actually be perfect now they've got the Innovate off the top. Innovate, of course, can be a very useful early game. Sometimes you're punished for it late game, but it can be helpful when you've got a bunch of cards. But at the moment for Czech Republic here, I mean, struggling ever so slightly. They have the board control, but they're just running out of tools.
Yeah, they don't really want to play Primordial Drake here as well, because they've got so few tools in their hand. They don't want to then play the one card they've got to weaken the ones they've got on the board. Again, Ultimate Infestation is the answer here. We are only 11 cards into the deck.
And the worry for United States, for Dog here as well, is if you do stabilize, you clear up this board and you say, okay, I'm going to go a little bit wide again, I've got Bloodlust. There's a second Spreading Plague available, and that is going to be a concern. I've certainly noticed with Pirate Warriors, they aren't going as wide on the board, but unfortunately you can't do that as a Volk Shaman.
No,
you need to go wide.
It is a deck which, its win condition is go wide, evolve stuff, play Bloodlust, smack the face in big chunks of 3.
Chunks of everything being taken out of Dog at the moment. There's Thrall as well, but
Thrall, Death Seer with nothing to evolve. Maybe Jade Claws on Thrall is the way to go. You get a 4-mana minion, you get the Jade Claws down.
Yeah, struggling now for United States. And they don't know what's in the hand, of course, for Czech Republic. I mean, for all they know, there could be an Ultimate Infestation, and that's just going to be the ultimate punish.
Hey, I was teasing earlier. Shaman have 4-mana 7/7s, right? It's possible. Jade Claws, Thrall, evolve the 2-drop into a 7/7. Nope, not going to go for it. Okay.
So do you just have to go Thing from Below here? Yeah, I think you do.
Okay.
It's your only option. I mean, a 5/5's not too bad. At least it challenges the board. I mean, Czech Republic haven't put that much pressure on, and just a swipe off the top is a decent way to deal with this Thing from Below and keep plenty on the board as well.
5-mana 5/5 is pretty poor compared to what you expect the Shaman deck to do. Again, no Primal Fin totems, no Mana Tide totems, none of these cards which the USA would have wanted to play to get totems down to actually buff up the board a bit. Ideally, later on, Thing from Below could have come down with Thrall, buff it up into an 8-drop. It's not going to happen though. Thing from Below being destroyed right now. And Dog with a lot in his hand, but no real options for this turn.
Yeah, Czech Republic just keeping control of this board. I mean, they haven't actually been ramping up those Jades very much, but they haven't needed to. Speaking of ramping Jades, well, there's a Jade Lightning that is available that can finally take off the Fandral. It has been a little bit of a pest.
Problem is,
there, hasn't he?
Fandral's done its job now. We're at the point where Fandral into Nourish, sure, it does something. It means that Nourish only costs 3. Not that relevant anymore. Fandral's really bad in the early game, though United States still wanting to get rid of it and generate 2 Jades. Finally, these things are getting a little bit bigger.
And Bone Mare has just been so sticky in this hand at the moment as well. I know turn 9 there is a possibility of hero power into Bone Mare, but with the overload now from Jade Claws, that isn't a possibility next turn. So,
but one of these minions should stick, right?
They should. That's his hope. He's hoping that something will stick and be able to play Bone Mare.
As we can see, that's not necessarily going to happen. There is a swipe present.
Oh, just an Ultimate Infestation when you need it as well. Just in time, 17 cards left. And I wonder how the reaction's going to be from the United States. Yeah, Dog just with a little bit of like, yeah, I was expecting it eventually.
The good news for the United States, there is inconsistent yogg-saron. Or just yogg-saron. The good news for the United States, of course, is that the 1/1 now survives if they do want to play Bone Mare and buff that up.
I'm so happy yogg-saron is in this deck, by the way.
Yara can just innovate hero power. Yeah, it's unexpected.
Why am I happier about yogg-saron being in deck than you?
I'm just a little bit confused, honestly. Like, are they running 2 Ultimate Infestations and yogg-saron? Again,
wow.
I came into the series expecting to be surprised. There's surprise number 1. A little bit late in the game.
I mean, yogg-saron is a perfect mechanism to use to get back when you are behind a game. I say perfect, it's actually not perfect. It's very imperfect, but it's a good way of having a chance of getting back into a game. So you're right, maybe they're running it instead of one of the Ultimate Infestations, but that would be crazy. No, there's no way. You don't not play both, surely.
But how much card draw do you want? Yogg-saron is often card draw. I saw a while back, I think there's a lot more ways that Yogg-saron can gain you health now because of some extra lifesteal spells, and it's been tweaked slightly, as it always is when new spells come in and go out of Hearthstone. But there you go, there's the Bone Mare. It manages to trade off the Primordial Drake, finally.
I think the fantastic thing about these finals as well is all of these players are well equipped of being in front of a big audience. Of course, here at Gamescom, a lot of people watching.
Yeah.
Nerves can become a thing, but they all know how to deal with it now. Yeah. They've been to it. They've done this time and time again. Like I said, furniture of the Hearthstone scene.
Yeah.
No pressure should be had by all the people watching, by the extra money that is available on the line as well. you can see how calm both of these players look.
And when you look back to when the Hearthstone global game started, if you had to look at all the teams and say, hey, which teams do you think will make it to the finals? All 4 teams that have made it today, they should have been on your shortlist. If you pay attention to Hearthstone esports, you'll know that these teams all have great, well-respected players.
Well, now for Czech Republic, it's just a case of continue to remove the board and not allow Dog to get any kind of board to even think about bloodlusting, even think about evolving. And it's looking pretty dire now for the United States, down to just 14 health, and Thrall just sat in the hand doing absolutely nada.
And what was the main turning point for this game? I believe it was the ultimate infestation. Czech Republic had no hand, and then they had 5 extra cards and a 5/5 on the board.
Yeah, it came at the perfect time. I mean, if it was still sat in these bottom 11 cards and Czech had just drawn like Innovate into Yogg, they may have been forced to play something like a yogg-saron, and then it could have been a very different game. It shows the sheer power of Ultimate Infestation, and now Dog is forced to go for the Evolve, hoping for some decent luck here, being able to evolve twice into something special, and okay, Genzo's going to be there.
That is special, but neither of these cards are actually going to be good enough. I'm a little bit surprised to see Dog playing the Flametongue Totem rather than playing his hero power that turn. Obviously, he wanted a 4-drop rather than a 3-drop from the Thrall, because the totems that the hero power spits off are only 1 mana, so it made a slight difference. But Czech Republic's still in a very, very good position here. And just so you're counting, this isn't lethal, is it?
I mean, yogg-saron's there, so yeah.
Oh.
Just Yogg, and that's game over, surely.
I don't like to count that.
That's how I play.
Malfurion, Innovate, Swipe. No, that doesn't quite do it either. If there was one more Innovate, then they could hero power as well, maybe.
I mean, Czech Republic are in such a comfortable position at the moment that they don't even need to be counting it. They're just going to be looking at removing this board, Swipe, and of course, use the 3/3 Jade just to trade as well. Put the damage in, set this up for next turn lethal.
It was almost lethal. Just to say, if there was a second Innovate there, then there would have been. Professor Putricide, not really relevant in this matchup. Shaman, of course, have no secrets in the deck.
And as Dog predicted when he looked at the lineups, when he knew there was a possibility of him facing up against Druid, he said he would be hard-pressed to take this one. So United States will concede game 1. Czech Republic go up 1-0. That's the start that they definitely would have wanted. And of course, Ultimate Infestation once again showing its dominance down.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary for Team Czech Republic for a few moments there. They weren't drawing the card. Their hand had such few resources in it, but they were able to just about hang on, squeeze the value out of the Fandral, out of the Wraths, until Ultimate Infestation showed up and won them the day.
And of course, Dog would have known as well, going up against Druid with his Evolved Shaman. It's not a favorable matchup, so I don't think the USA will be too disappointed with that.
No.
And I think their high spirits and their bandanas and their fidget spinner should still be aloft, and they should still be confident, right?
You were really enjoying Dog's fidget spinner there, weren't you, Dan?
I mean, as an American-born, I guess I can get a little bit patriotic as well, and I could root for the USA, but I did kind of choose Czech Republic as my champion. But that is going to be game 1 done and dusted. Coming up, of course, is the second game, so don't go anywhere. We'll be with you shortly. Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone Global Games Finals here at Gamescom 2017. The crowd has gathered. Everyone is in the tavern battling against the Lich King at the moment. But more importantly, we're trying to send a second team to that grand final to face off against Ukraine. Czech Republic currently 1-0 up, down against Team USA. We move into that second game. I mean, you've been watching a little bit or a lot of these players, and you kind of know what they're playing. You've been watching their streams. Is there anything you can kind of expect, anything you can tell me? I've
been scouting them a little bit. Next up, as you saw on the screen a moment ago, is going to be Pokravac on the Warrior versus Firebat on the Paladin. Now, Czech Cloud has been playing the Rage's Giants Warrior list recently. A little bit on his stream. For those of you that don't know the deck, it's about using Dead Man's Hand to shuffle Arcane Giants back into the deck with Battle Rages. You keep drawing, you keep shuffling, and you can go infinite. It's a very difficult deck to play. We may see it, or they might want to play it a little bit more safe. However, this is the Czech Republic.
This is the Czech Republic, but as you say, it's a very difficult deck to play. I'd much more expect something like a Pirate Warrior because of the dominance that's been seen, but they did promise us something a little bit different. They have been saying that they like their deck choices, they're confident with their deck building, so maybe we'll see something that tries to surprise the United States.
There are a few other Warriors that have been seen recently. Wyra and Casey have both been playing a little bit of N'Zoth Warrior, using some of the newer death rattles in the set. There are some other surprises the Czech Republic could hit us with.
Whereas Paladin, of course, has it's gone from strength to strength, really. Just Bone Mare being added has really helped. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the Death Knight come into it. Of course, we've tried to get the Exodia Paladin.
Okay, hang on a minute. What is this?
That's Pirate Warrior.
We've seen Jade Druid. We've seen Pirate... Czech Republic, come on.
Have they debated us?
You know what Sottle's words? So Sottle also spoke with Czech Cloud yesterday, and apparently Czech Cloud's words were, our deck lists are groundbreaking.
All right, okay, so there was probably a lot of sarcasm there. That's what I'm kind of feeling. The English are meant to do sarcasm well, Dan. I think you've been debated into thinking that there's some new groundbreaking decks, but it is just going to be the Pirate Warrior, and it is going to be going up against the Murloc Paladin. I mean, we've seen this for quite a while now, Dan. It's been months. But there are a few new additions that have come from Frozen Throne, of course, just to try and make these decks even better.
I mean, specifically in this matchup as well, Paladin got a 1-mana 1/1 with Divine Shield and Taunt. Think Annoyatron, but then reduced the mana cost by 1. That is one way that the Paladin can hang on against Pirate Warriors.
We do see the Naga Corsair there, so I'm thinking actually this is more of a traditional pirate list from the Czech Republic, and they were taking a little bit of time to think there, and you're probably wondering, why are they taking so long? I mean, it was an easy decision, Stealthy Deckhand or Stealthy Deckhand, but sometimes you've got to think ahead. You've got to use that time to think, well, what's our turn 2? What's our turn 3 play? Yeah. And of course, when there are 4 players, not every play is as simple as you would have thought.
Now again, you said that the United States had said earlier that they want to punish the Czech Republic for bringing something unusual. I guess Czech Republic are going to be giving them a little bit of a surprise. This is just standard Pirate Warrior at the moment. The only unusual thing we've seen so far is that yogg-saron. I know that Firebat, Amnesiac, and the team have been ready to play a very aggressive game and hoping to destroy some control decks. Looks like we might just be having aggressive mirror matches moving forwards.
Yeah, aggro decks. Well, I mean, USA did say they just wanted to bring decks that are just going to win. And now for Czech Republic, Bloodsail Raider just seems like the obvious decision here. But again, you just use this time to think ahead. You can, of course, trade off, take down the Tidecaller nice and easily. The United States could have done with going first, really, with the hand that they had. Tidecaller would have been nicer. They could have traded more effectively, but unfortunately, they do go second. It does get a little bit more awkward for Czech Republic in the following turn, so they're going to be looking at drawing something very, well, impactful.
Yeah. Rallying Blade, pretty important draw there. Firebat may decide to use that now to get rid of the Bloodsail Raider, as Pokravac, Team Czech Republic, already have complete control of the board. And what's Firebat's other option? Just Murloc Tidecaller? That feels horrible right now.
It does, and you're completely right. Get rid of the board. I mean, the good thing when you're playing Murloc Paladin against Pirate Warrior is if you can stabilize in these early stages, when it gets to that little bit later on, you can use the Spike Ridge Steed, you can use your Bone Mare, use your Tyrian Ford Ring, and suddenly your Pirate Warrior players are screaming internally and struggling to get past you. Of course, there are spell breakers that have been added to Pirate Warrior. They've been there for a long old time, so the United States will be well aware of that.
But look at this now as well. So Czech Republic now picked up South Sea Captain. if there wasn't a Rallying Blade there, if Firebat had just played Murloc Tidecooler, maybe coined out a hero power, then Pokrovac's board would be completely dominating Firebat at the moment. As it happens, Czech Republic have decided they have to play Bloodsail Raider anyway, sorry, Stealthy Captain anyway. They have to just put stuff on the board and force Firebat to use up his weapon on it.
Yeah, I think Firebat won't mind too much, or the United States. And what's been really interesting across the global games, Dan, is players telling us who kind of takes the driving seat. Of course, we've got Firebat. He's the pilot at the moment. He's got the mouse. He's making all the decisions. But Amnesiac has said, no, I'm the driving force. I'm the one that calls the shots. And Firebat actually just, he comes in with a few good ideas, but that's after 30 bad ideas. And it's amazing to see the kind of, the little bit of internal banter between these teams.
Oh, we saw some really interesting conversations between them last night.
Yes, we did.
They're definitely an interesting team dynamic. Whereas on the other side, Czech Republic, as they said, they're just friends.
Well, I mean, you've got Firebat, one of the most successful American players to ever exist in Hearthstone, right? And now you've got
world champion
Amnesiac, who wants to be that. He wants to be the most successful United States player ever. So, yeah, of course, there's a little bit of a rivalry outside of this, but now they're working together for their country. Turn 4 finally comes for Czech Republic, which is a little bit more comfortable than their previous turns.
Yep.
But the Fiery War Axe actually coming just in time.
Yep, it's kind of complicated because they might decide they just want to put the big thing on the board, put the 5-4 down, there's the body. But no, gonna go with your play. Getting rid of Murloc War Leader does feel important. I think the pecking order on Team Czech Republic is kind of very well established. Having spoken to Szech myself a few weeks ago in France, like he was saying, you know, I'm the decision maker. I make the final call because it's just, we all agree, I'm the most experienced person on the team. And from the way that Czech Cloud was talking about Stan Sivka, they agree. Like, they are all completely behind Stan. And they really just want to work together and win this one.
And that's great. That's when you get good teamwork, when everyone can agree. It's when you get a clash of personalities, a clash of egos, perhaps. That's when it can get a little bit more sticky, when that rope is just fizzling away. An upgrade coming at the perfect time as well for Czech Republic.
Make your own Arcanite Reaper.
Easy. I mean, there'll be stores soon in Blizzard, in the Blizzard Hall. Hall 9 down the road. And there'll be make your own Arcanite Reaper, and Pokrovac will be there selling it. Just 12 health left for Firebat, and he's going to be looking for a taunt here.
Yeah, he's sort of finally able to put things down. No taunt given. Divine Shield, Wind Fury both might be tempting. I don't see any reason that Czech Republic would stop just smacking the face, though. They can put down the second Naga Corsair, buff up the weapon to make it a 6-1.
Yeah, and Czech Republic have been able to just bombard the United States with damage here, and the United States now, they're looking at a possible 2-0 deficit because Czech Republic have got so much damage on board. United States will regain 2 health when they do trade with their True Silver Champion, so I don't think they're dead just yet, although I can't actually see the board. And they're just going to be hoping for some taunts, but it's not going to arrive. If Czech Republic don't trade, maybe a Spike Ridge Steed off the top could help.
Just a scary position for one of the most respected team of players in Hearthstone to be losing to the Czech Republic. Though, Fiery War Axe not the best card for this turn. The 6-1 weapon is going to be going in, or maybe the 5-1 goes in, and then the War Axe comes out with Naga Corsair so that it's instantly a 3-2.
I mean, we can discuss the amount of draws Czech Republic just had to win that game, and they completely whiffed with the War Axe. Yeah. And now this is what I'm on about. This gets a little bit more tricky because if you do leave anything alive, which actually you're going to have to because of that Divine Shield, which was probably why Firebat went for that, why Team USA went for that, a Spike Ridge Steed could ruin your day. We haven't seen Mortal Strike really being run that often in Pirate Warrior anymore. It does still appear, of course we saw it in the previous game as well, but it's kind of fallen out of favor.
It looks like this is where the Divine Shield on the Murloc Tidecooler is actually going to come into its own, because United States are going to want to drop Sunkeeper Tavern next turn just to put this taunt up. Then it becomes a 3-3 with Divine Shield, which can trade for free. It's still a 3-3 after that. Megastore can kill patches if the United States want to play this very defensively. They really like a way of healing back up, though.
I mean, Sunkeeper Tavern is just the play. There isn't another play now.
Wait, Righteous Protector might be tempting. He could play it with Gentle Megastore, still clear up the board. That thing takes 2 hits before it dies.
Yeah, I think just sticking a 3-7 in the way is just a little bit better than a 1-1. You don't want to be able to give any sort of chance of them getting through it. Now, just a Spellbreaker would do the job, but Arcanite Reaper isn't going to be it. It now begs the question of, do Czech Republic start hitting in to this Sunkeeper Tavern? I think the answer is probably yes.
They've got so many hits. They've got 4 durability in their hand in total. Either of these weapons, 1 hit to the face would end United States. Yeah, I think you start hitting the 3-7. You're not going to die anytime soon.
Now, this is funny because this takes me back to Phase 2 of the Global Games when Firebat was playing as the Pirate Warrior against a Paladin, I believe, and he got the Paladin down to 1 health. He had 6 turns to try and win the game, and he didn't win the game. He actually lost that. So now Firebat on the reverse, and he's going to be trying to survive and hoping he can get some revenge here.
Yeah, it's going to be a long road for Firebat, but looking at the hands, Czech Republic need a Spellbreaker, but once the second taunt comes down, it's just not going to be enough.
Well, this is the thing. They can start swinging, and they can start trying to take down Tarim here, but then there's a Tyrion as a possibility on turn 8. Now, if Mortal Strike is in the deck for Czech
That's
Republic,
the elephant in the room at the moment, right?
then it's very different, and the United States will be very concerned about that. But usually 2 Spellbreakers are available that might be able to help get through Tyrion. Bone Mare is just going to add more pain to Czech Republic here, because not only are you putting another taunt on the board, but you're starting to push real damage into Czech Republic, and you don't have to worry about how much damage you're pushing in, because you're already at 2 health, so you're not worried about Mortal Strike dealing any more damage.
You put 10 extra attack on the board, and then next turn, Gentle Megasaur, say Bone Mare, buffs up the Murloc, next turn Megasaur can then just give it Wind Fury and just immediately win the game regardless of what the Warrior does. This is looking suddenly really good for the United States.
Yeah, this game has gone back and forth, and United States having Tarim in their hand would have been relatively comfortable, but they would have been so worried when that pressure came through from the make-your-own Arcanite Reaper.
Right.
But now on 2 health, they may believe they can stabilize, and of course, the deck lists are closed, so they won't know if there is a Mortal Strike available.
Build a Beast, build an Arcanite Reaper. That'd be a great hero power.
Or build your own weapon.
No, just build Arcanite Reaper.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, that would be good. N'Zoth's first mate is a little bit of a whiff, and actually, that's just going to be them dead, I believe, Dan.
Yep, that's game over, that right there. United States taking their first game of the series, tying it up at a 1-1 score. They are not going to be taken down so easily today.
And Firebat just giving the eyes across the room there, saying, yeah, I knew I was going to take that game. I knew I was going to get it back on board. A very confident individual, Firebat. Of course, we've worked with him. He's casted a little bit. Caster, player, he does everything.
Firebat does do everything. He just lives and breathes Hearthstone, and that's Firebat.
An absolute world champion, and actually, we'll tie it up now. United States go 1-1, and we'll take a look and see what the next game is going to be very shortly. But really, I think Czech Republic will be a little bit disappointed. They thought they might be able to take that one with the Pirate Warrior, but that turn 6 Tarim, it did punish them. As you can see on your screens as well, everyone battling that Lich King here at Gamescom.
Lich King has a lot of health.
1 million. That is a lot of health.
But yeah, a very disappointing game for the Czech Republic. We've all been in that position as an aggro deck. We've got our opponent down so low to 2-1, and then they just come back. It's frustrating, but it happens.
Well, game 2 is over, but of course, game 3 will be coming up very shortly after this.
Hello and welcome back to the second semi-final series of the Hearthstone Global Games. It is USA versus Czech Republic. I'm Falcone, joining me again, Dan Gaskin, and the score is currently 1-1.
It is, and now we get a repeat of game number 1. We get Druid and we get Shaman, but it is going to be flippy-floppied around, and we're going to have the chance for the Druid power to come out for the opposition this time.
Now, you said that Dog said when he saw the matchup was his Shaman versus his opponent's Druid, he was unhappy. Do you think it's going to be the same the other way around? I mean, is Czech Cloud going to be sad to see that he's against the Druid?
It really depends if they're running an Evolved Shaman as well. They might have gone for some crazy kind of control Shaman. I don't know. They've said their decks are groundbreaking, but we're starting to feel like that was a little bit of sarcasm that was implied.
You know, so far, I'm a little bit disheartened by Team Czech Republic. I've been relying on them to show us something incredible. Don't forget, these are the guys that won with Blood Bloom Warlock back in the Ungaro meta when none of the other players were playing Warlock. They had this heavily teched deck to beat Paladin. They queued it, they won ace matches, they made us go crazy, and now Evolved Shaman, Pirate Warrior, like Jade Druid.
I mean, play the best decks. It's the semi-finals of the Global Games, Dan. I mean, why not? Bring stuff that is definitely you are confident with. You've been playing for like the past couple of months. You can worry about deck building and bringing something innovative after you've won the Global Games, after you've put that money in your pocket.
It's a very interesting trend that we often see immediately after expansions. In the first tournaments, you do see the best pro players, they just bring the best decks from before. If they've seen obvious cards like Bone Mare that just improve a matchup or improve a few classes, then sure, throw them in. But it is a common trend that they don't want to take risks. We kind of expect Czech Republic to be the guys that do come in and take the risks, but so far it looks like even them, well, the riskiest thing they've done is bring yogg-saron and their Druid. And they didn't play it.
And they didn't even get to play it. But okay, so we've got Shaman versus Druid again then. I mean, if it is Evolved Shaman, if it is the typical Druid that we're used to seeing, is it just a case for the Shaman of avoiding Spreading Plague and hoping that the Druid doesn't draw into Spreading Plague and then draw into Ramp and then draw into Ultimate Infestation?
I think the most important thing for the Shaman is to actually draw their value generation cards early. I mentioned it in Dog's game. He was unable to get the Primal Fin Totem, the Mana Tide Totem, etc. If they can draw cards and get to the point where their board is big enough, where they've got Devolved Bloodlust ready to go, then sure, play into it. But hang on a second.
Forgotten King. Yeah, I've noticed something a little bit different when we dive into this game, but I saw a nice salute from Czech Cloud as well. He's very confident, but there is the Forgotten King himself. So something a little bit different, but completely understand why.
This is the United States, not Czech Republic.
I mean, we've seen the Forgotten King used in a lot of variations of Druid. I mean, and it can be really good just for that armor gain. That if you're going up against aggro and you're worried and you don't draw that Spreading Plague, for example, it can be really good. Or you can just drop a 7/7 on the board, regenerate your mana, and then play Ultimate Infestation. And then for 10 mana, you've just dropped a 7/7, a 5/5, drawn 5 cards, gained 5 armor.
That is pretty nuts. But what is also pretty nuts is Hot Meowth's opening hand right now. Innovate, Wild Growth, Jade Blossom, and Jade Idol. United States have got everything that they need to go into their turn 10, where they can then play Ultimate, well, it'll be earlier than turn 10, but to 10 mana when they can then play Ultimate Infestation, and, well, as far as they're concerned, just win the game. Czech Cloud running South Sea Captain in Evolved Shaman. It's something we have seen some of, just a little bit more pirate synergy. Getting patches out as a 2/2 with charge rather than a 1/1 is pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
2/2 patches.
Yeah.
I'd say that's more than pretty good. I mean, patches
2/2 with charge, yeah.
Patches have just been crazy for aggro decks. It's been so popular, and of course, very frustrating to play against at times. Very frustrating if you draw it yourself, but it's going to be a case for Czech Republic of trying to put as much pressure and really hoping there isn't something like a Spreading Plague. It's the complete polar opposite to what we saw in Game 1. I'm wondering if there's going to be any sort of difference in strategy, because realistically, the USA, all they did was just build up their board and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Are Czech Cloud and the Czech Republic, are they just going to maybe not go as wide, wait and see if a Spreading Plague comes when like 2 minions are on the board or something like that?
I don't know to what extent you can afford to play around it, and to what extent you have to say, look, if they've got it, we'll probably lose, let's just play as if the card doesn't exist. Unfortunately, again, no Primal Fin Totem on 2. Czech Republic had to actually just hero power up last turn, which is a little bit disappointing. Mana Tide Totem is an option here if Czech Republic don't believe it'll get cleared. Otherwise, just slamming down South Sea Captain, getting a 2/2 patches with charge also seems pretty good here.
It does, and the longer you wait, the more likely, of course, you are to draw Patches. That's if Patches is in the deck. I mean, of course, we would expect it to be if a Saltage Captain is there. There was the option of playing the Flame Elemental, of course, in the previous turn, but I think just hero powering, of course, reducing the cost of Thing from Below is very important as well. And a 0-2 really isn't going to do much difference than a 1-2 in the grand scheme of things at this moment.
I mean, another option for Czech Republic, if they just want to build up their board slowly, is just Flame Elemental Hero Power, or Flame Elemental and Flame Tongue Totem if they want to start sinking the damage in. Playing around Spreading Plague here is really difficult.
And of course, the arena getting very loud here at Gamescom, Video Games Live, over across the hall. It's fantastic noise all around, and everyone actually enjoying watching some Hearthstone at the moment. And
watching some Hearthstone, listening to some music.
I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? It's a perfect combination. And then just in the background, our voices. Just soothing everybody.
All right, 5 mana now for Hot Meowth. So Jade Idol, Innovate, Jade Behemoth does become an option. Maybe holding on to the Innovate for Primordial Drake or Ultimate Infestation is important. Okay, gonna set up so that Primordial Drake deals with that Mana Tide Totem next turn.
Yeah, you're in a position now as the United States where you may be forced to use that Innovate with the Primordial Drake. Of course, I mean, the optimal, you want to keep it for Ultimate Infestation, but you can't afford to let this board get out of control with Czech Republic, because you know full well, turn 5, you're either looking at Thrall coming down, or you're looking at Bloodlust being a possibility of just battering you down to very little health.
Yeah. It's things get scary here. Czech Cloud is playing a very reserved game at the moment. We've seen Czech Republic with a lot of potential to deal damage, but they have been playing it slow. They've not even been playing it like super thin on the board. Like, they have played 3 minions. Spreading Plague would still be a bit of a disaster for them. But when you look at the value in Czech Republic's hand, there is a lot that they've got going on into the future. And now the 2-2 Patches comes down, trades straight into that Jade gun.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, they don't really have an option. They have to go very wide here. It's a frustrating thing to play against when your win condition is hoping that your opponent doesn't draw a certain amount of cards. And actually, Czech Cloud is biting the bullet now. He's saying, actually, I want to evolve. I want the pressure. I want to build up as best as I can. Of course, Biteweed isn't a particularly good evolve.
The others aren't bad at all, though. And hey, let's consider the Primordial Drake plan that I described at the end of last turn. Hot Meowth trying to set up that Mana Tide Totem so that Drake would finish it off. Obviously, a Healing Totem would have also put an end to that plan, but evolving them up so that these minions are both 3/3s, and obviously the 2/6 as well. United States are going to struggle to get rid of this board.
They will indeed. So they might just be tempted just with Jade Behemoth here. I mean, Swipe can, of course, get rid of 2 minions, but it doesn't feel too comfortable. But now you're really scared if you're USA, because the possibility of Thrall is really thriving here, and you're looking at some disgustingly large minions for what you've paid in mana cost.
Yeah, we're probably looking at Hot Meowth trying to play Swipe or play whatever else he draws next turn, and then innovating out Ultimate Infestation on turn 8. He really does need to fill up his hand with more useful cards right now, because these ones, they're not quite doing it.
So really nice possibility for a Sea Giant here. You could Flame Tongue, put it in the middle, and be able to trade with it effectively, and drop the Sea Giant, of course, because it'll be reduced to 3. I mean, this is a pretty juicy turn for Czech Republic. An effective trade possibility and building up your board and putting yourself in a very commanding position.
Production handily showing us some of these newer cards that you may not have seen yet that Evolve just placed on the board. Unfortunately, they don't get their battle cries, so they are just pure stats in this case.
And that's what a new expansion could do as well. These kind of situations, they can be completely changed by something like an Evolve. A card that you wouldn't necessarily expect to change a game can suddenly change a game because it's been introduced from the expansion.
Cards like Ticking Abomination. An Evolve can just cause you to blow up your own board. That is something that the players do have to think about. Now, double swipe. If we're doing it, where are we putting it?
But if you're double swiping, you've got to use your Innovate, Dan.
Yeah, and then you can Primordial Drake next turn. So I think the logic is that you can clear out most of this board now, let the Drake do the rest next turn. Maybe double swipe, just go straight into Sea Giant and use the 3/3 to get to damage the 4/6.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I don't like it, and I don't think Team USA will like it either. This is a very awkward turn. I mean, alternatively, you could swipe the Flame Tongue Totem, try and get a little rid of some damage there, but the possibility of lethal now is just available for Czech as far as Team USA are available.
My play would leave 9 damage on the board.
Yeah,
it looks like he's going to go with it, because the next turn Primordial Drake does clear everything else up. So, if there's no evolve, if there's no thrall, one evolve has already gone, remember? Maybe United States are finally getting their own grip back on this board. Let's see what this pickup is for Czech Republic. No, Flame Tongue Totem is not going to be good enough.
Scary territory for Team USA. They'll be hoping there isn't a thrall, hoping there isn't any sort of bloodlust as well, and we can see there isn't for Czech Cloud, and it becomes a little bit more awkward. Flame Tongue Totem would survive against a Primordial Drake, of course, but there isn't really any other options down, unless you're just going to play some Maelstrom Portals onto a naked board just to try and build up your board. But if you are worried about Primordial Drake, then there is no way, Jose, you're playing those.
I wonder if Czech Republic are probably considering the Primordial Drake. They may be tipped off that the double swipe that sort of doesn't clear everything may well be setting up for that. So I find it very unlikely that we'll see anything played unnecessarily here. Yep, just going to sink in the damage and turn. Drake going to come straight down. There's Kuhn.
I mean,
is Kuhn good as armor generation here?
It's a possibility. I mean, you could even just drop it as a 7/7, like I said, and then play the mana regeneration, play Ultimate Infestation as well. You get the armor gain. You've got a 5/5, a 7/7 on the board. You've refilled your hand, and you're begging the question of Czech Republic of how on earth do you get back into it?
Yeah, Kuhn you can kind of compare to Ultimate Infestation if you choose the armor gain. You get a 7/7, you get 10 armor, you just don't get the card draw, you don't deal the damage. Playing both together does feel ideal though. Playing the Kuhn, refreshing your mana crystals, playing Ultimate Infestation, drawing 5 cards, dealing 5 damage. Yeah, it seems good.
And of course, that double swipe play into Primordial Drake now puts the United States into a very comfortable position, as you rightly pointed out. And now I was just seeing it from a point of view of what if Czech Republic have the Bloodlust? Because of course, yeah, they can't see what their opposition have, and they have to be worried about potential lethals or extra damage coming through, of course. But it was the optimal play. And now it seems like Team USA have stabilized, and it's going to be difficult for Czech Republic to get back into this.
It's funny how much of an advantage the Shaman deck does have once Thrall has been put down. The fact that you can just play a minion, evolve it every single turn. Like the cards that get bigger every turn, cards like I guess Vicious Fledgling, etc. They're pretty powerful, right? Well, the Shaman evolved, Shaman upgraded hero power. Makes everything get bigger every single turn. You can just take a bunch of damage with a minion, heal it back up to full health, evolve it, etc., etc.
A little bit more risk.
A little bit more risk. Again, things like Ticking Abomination can happen. But if you don't draw Thrall, then you can end up in this situation where you're sort of just running out of resources.
Yeah, Czech Republic here just dropping thing from below and putting the Flame Tongue Totem in the middle, just because it means it's an awkward trade here for Primordial Drake if they want to try and take this down. Of course, it isn't turn 10 yet.
No, it's not. Which is hugely beneficial for Czech Republic. United States only play as Jade Spirit Hero Power. Yeah, Hero Power can get rid of Think from Below, but then they're taking so much damage.
They're just dead, right? If that happens, they take 7.
Yeah, you're right.
Go up to what?
It's exact
5,
lethal, yeah.
And then it would be exact lethal available for Czech Republic.
So they have to just Hero Power and chill. Wow, and obviously Jade Spirit.
Yeah, they can't afford to take the 7 damage here, but Devolve is there. It's available, so that's 12 damage available as a possible. 2
Devolves as well. So if the Taunt does appear, you just play the second one.
So one Devolve for a chance at lethal. Is there any taunts available? The answer is no. Bish bash bosh. Czech Cloud raises his fist, and that is going to be 2-1 advantage for Czech Republic. It looked like the United States had kind of got back into control of things, but unfortunately, without that innovate to get out Ultimate Infestation, another salute is made by Czech Cloud. 2-1 up now.
This is exactly what we want to be seeing from the semi-finals, though. There's no one-sidedness in this series whatsoever. Czech Republic win game 1, USA win game 2, and Czech Republic right back with game number 3. This is just as intense as we would have wanted it to be.
And now we get what all the fans want. We get the rematch from Phase 2. We get Amnesiac. We get Stan Sifka. Now, when we saw them in Phase 2 battle off against each other twice, Amnesiac lost twice. He was eating the bananas, he was a little bit confident, he was a little bit arrogant, and he was punished for it. Now, of course, it was all in good spirits. They are very good friends as well, but Amnesiac wants to make a point here.
Yeah, Amnesiac is, as you said earlier, he is the young savage. It is his job to win everything. It is his job to make his opponents know that he is going to win everything.
Czech Republic are 2-1 up, and very shortly we will be going into game number 4. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone Global Games second semi-final of the day. We've got Czech Republic going up against the United States, and Czech Republic are currently leading 2-1. And we move in now to what some would say is a little bit of a rivalry, Dan. Szech versus Amnesiac.
And what a beautiful rivalry that it is. There was some funny words going between the players on Twitter just before their last series. Amnesiac was saying something about how if the Czech Republic play their game against us like that, then we'll win no problem. Or they said something about being able to play better than the Czech Republic blindfolded, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
But then, Czech Republic won the series, and in the final game, Szech beat Amnesiac. He found lethal with Quest Rogue, and he had a blindfold on. So, yeah.
And funnily enough, we are going to see Rogue being played as well. It is going to be Mage versus Rogue. I don't think it's going to be Quest Rogue.
It's
now,
pretty
since
unlikely.
Frozen Throne, Miracle Rogue has seemed to have been the most popular.
Then again, these decks are supposed to be groundbreaking. Dan.
Stop it, Dan. They're not groundbreaking. They are just on-meta, solid decks from Czech Republic. We've seen more groundbreakingness from the United States in the moment, and they're being punished for it. As you can see, the players getting ready. A little bit of a heated talk actually coming from the Czech Republic there. I think Szech was kind of telling someone to shut up a little bit, saying, hey, come on, let me relax here as we get into this one.
I don't know, it looked like he was having a laugh. It's hard to tell. Of course, just a reminder, these guys are all communicating through each and every game, as they have been for the entirety of the Hearthstone Global Games so far. Every single series in this tournament you've seen, the players have been either grouped in a room together or communicating online. That's always been the way with this tournament. It's a group format. That's the whole point of this.
Now, we are going to be seeing Mage on the side of the United States and Rogue on the side of Szech. As I said, Miracle Rogue seems to be very popular. Of course, we've seen various iterations of Mage popular as well, but something that has started to rise through the ranks a little bit is Secret Mage, as you can see, is being played by Amnesiac, and I'm not entirely surprised. With all these control decks currently floating around, something a little bit aggressive that could just power through is going to be favorable.
Yeah, Secret Mage is one of those decks that the players had been playing when they started seeing cards from the new expansion. Hey, this is just going to be a solid deck moving forward. Czech Republic going to get rid of that patches, I imagine, pretty quickly. Backstab preparation can be pretty good in the early game.
And between these two decks, I mean, the differences from Frozen Throne, we saw the Conjurer that was there for the United States. That's pretty much the only addition to Secret Mage. And for Miracle Rogue, it's just that new Valera Death Knight. We haven't really seen much difference coming out of either of these classes, so it's going to be a very familiar game for both, but they are both cards that can make a large impact. Of course, Valera, an absolutely huge card that can be played late game.
Yeah, if Szech can get that down on turn 9, for example, and get 2 copies of kind of any cards that he wants remaining in his hand and deck, that can be pretty crazy. On the other side of things, though, Amnesiac drawn Burgly Bully. We can get a pretty good idea that there's an Antonidas in this deck. Now we've seen that card, but Burgly Bully, quite good against Rogue. A deck which, or Miracle Rogue, a deck that is just full of cheap spells. Amnesiac's hand may be full of coins, eventually.
Maybe eventually, and as you said, if there is an Antonidas, then that could be very interesting. We see SI7 Agent just being drawn by Czech Republic as well. Always handy when you have a coin. I mean, you do have 2 coins available, so there is a possibility you could clear this mana worm if you wanted to, but it is a large use of your hand. And really, in these early stages, you want to be waiting for that possibility of an Edwin just kind of wandering along, turning into like a 14-14 nice and early on.
As the Rogue, you don't really want to take too much damage against the Mage. Like, Mages have always been quite good at just burning Rogues down. Rogues don't have any healing in the deck. Yeah, okay, Valera gains the Rogue 5 armor. Great, that's nothing. So they are going to want to get rid of these mana worms before they grow too big, but realistically this turn, if there was a Primordial Glyph and a Frostbolt, the mana worm's not getting that much bigger just yet. And as it happened, it only ended up dealing 1 damage anyway.
And there is a counterspell available, so next turn, United States, Kirin Mage into counterspell would seem like an obvious play, but usually you don't want to play a counterspell until your opponent has played a coin. Now, it's slightly different against Rogue because they have more coins than just the coin, so you will just be looking for the tempo here, buffing both those mana worms up to 2/3s and getting a 4/3 on the board and just saying, well, how are you possibly going to answer this early on? Rogue typically does have a lot of removal, though, Dan.
Yeah, well, counterspell, it tends to not be as good against Rogue generally, unless you can time it perfectly, which is difficult, because cards like Razor Petals exist as well. That's like deal 1 damage, great. If that's counterspelled, the Rogue just doesn't care. Czech Republic can actually go for some tempo here, coining out the SI7 Agent, backstabbing and just getting rid of 1 mana worm, hoping that it trades into the other one. But now, Kirin Mage into Secret, That is a lot of tempo.
It is, and a very quick decision as well. Not really much discussion coming out from Team USA. I feel like they would have been discussing it on the previous turn, as I was pointing out as well. And just having the opportunity to say, well, okay, the SI7 agent is probably going to trade into the 4-3 rather than our Mana Worm, and then we may be able to boost this Mana Worm up to even a little bit bigger. However, Czech Republic could decide to go for the value trade. If that does happen, United States have a very valuable pick just to finish him off.
Yeah, and that's something the Czech Republic have got to consider. The value trade does feel good, but immediately using that counterfeit coin, getting rid of the counterspell does seem like a pretty solid start. You can see Eviscerate is glowing. The combo will still go off if Szech wants to clear everything. Looks like he does. And now if Amnesiac does want to ping the 3-1, it means using up half of his mana.
Yeah, which is okay. It depends what you get from Primordial Glyph here, of course, and that can be a reduced cost card that you might be able to play for 0 mana and get something on the board. Vaporize, Counterspell, or Shatter. Shatter. I think Shatter's going to be out the window. Probably a Counterspell here, I would have thought. Maybe a Vaporize if there was a big Edwin on the board, but yeah, just deal with this 3-1 and we're back to a fresh board.
Yeah, the mana reduction doesn't matter too much, as Counterspell probably gets played with Kurrentor Mage, unless the United States pick up another secret, which they can play with the Kurrentor Mage, and then playing the Counterspell for 1 mana would be great. I won't be surprised at all if we just see Burgly Bully next turn.
Double Swashbuckler as well from Mimic Pod. Now Swashbuckler can be so influential in this game, and as you can see, a Firelands Portal is massive. I mean, it's such a good card. Pulling out Ice Blocks can be really big against Mage as well.
Yeah, the two of the best, and then cards like Frostbolt and Fireball, the obvious ones, but Firelands Portal definitely going to be great for tempo later on. There's another Swashbuckler, but Szech doesn't have any way to get rid of this Burgly Bully just yet, and I don't know when he's going to have a way of getting rid of it without using spells.
He could try and freeze a random enemy here with Frostcaller if he really wanted to, but of course could freeze the face.
Freeze a random enemy, give your opponent a coin? I don't like it. And he can't this turn anyway. I suspect he'll... Well, if he's playing Demented Frostcaller, he's just playing it for the body. He may decide to play Swashbuckler. I hope that that gives him a tool to get rid of this Burgly Bully, but Burgly Bully looks like he might carry the game for United States here.
Yeah, Burgly Bully just being a real pain in United States' backside at the moment, to be honest. You're just going to have to search for more with the Swashbuckler. Another Firelands Portal comes out. That will come in handy a little bit later, but not much use just yet.
Like we may just get an end of turn. Yeah, with hero power there. Ball is in United States court. They've got control. If they can find some way of dealing with all of these 1-1s, their life gets a little bit easier, but even without, this is a good turn. Kurrentor Mage, Counterspell, Medivh's Valet.
Yeah, you can just take out 2 of these 1-1s if you really want, or you can start pushing damage. It depends how worried you are about those 1-1s, Dan. You could Arcane Intellect draw for more, but I feel like just emptying your hand now, putting everything on the board, next turn you've got Arcane Intellect to draw for more.
You could also ping one. If you just wanted to play Counterspell and zone Medivh's Valet, you could get rid of one. You could ping another one, leaving Burgly Bully really hard to deal with on the board. That's another option. Then later on, use the Arcane Intellect, draw another secret, and play that one for tempo with Kurrentor Mage.
We have many.
Nope, gonna go for it right now. And we're just going face with everything right now. No point in clearing. We're against the rogues. Rogues can't heal. We can draw a lot of burn damage. Let's go. Amnesiac knows faces the place.
Oh yeah, throw the SM Orcs down right about now. File Spine Slayer is drawn from Stan-Sivka, but I mean, that's nothing.
You know, a 1-mana 1-1 would be really helpful right now.
It would. Yeah, it very much would, to just try and sequence this, try and combo it out, but instead you're going to be forced to give away some coins now. You may not be too worried unless you think that is an Antonides in the hand.
Yeah, well, you'll know there's one in the deck. There's no way you're on Burgly Bully without there being one in the deck. Fan Knives goes off, gives United States a coin, but then stops in its tracks. And Czech Republic can't actually do anything else this turn.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's the turnover, and there's 10 damage that is a possibility of coming to your face if you don't trade off.
Despite what I was saying earlier about how it's very hard to pull off Counterspell against a rogue, Amnesiac's done it, at least this turn.
Yeah, so of course the sensible trades from the Czech Republic, but Amnesiac will feel relatively comfortable. Needs a decent draw here though. Thankfully does have Arcane Intellect to start searching, as he knows there is a very big swing.
That'll do it.
Speak of it, a Bone Mare is just going to add even more pressure to this board. Bone Mare just seems to be popping up in every single class at the moment.
As soon as we saw the card, it was quite obvious that any deck that wants to control the board in any way whatsoever is going to use this. It's like Spike-Rich Steve, and that card's insane in every Paladin. Buffing up the Medea's Valet to protect the Burgly Bully means if there's a Valspine Slayer, Sif is going to have to use that on the 6/7, not on the Burgly Bully. This is going to be almost impossible for the Czech Republic to deal with.
I mean, we spoke about how Firelands Portals are such amazing cards, but getting 2 of them has actually been detrimental to Czech Republic because they've not been able to do anything with it. They need a taunt here from the random summon minion. That's the only way they survive.
Yep.
And of course, the discussion is coming out saying, well, what could we get? What sort of taunt minions are going to be available? Is there a possibility of surviving? Unfortunately, that is not a taunt minion. And it does mean that the United States will be able to take game number 4 and tie this one up 2-2. Amnesiac finally gets his revenge onto Stan Sivka.
And quite comfortably as well. Again, it's not a hard matchup for the Mage particularly. Rogue really struggles through its lack of healing in that matchup. But yeah, Amnesiac taking it away and 2-2 going into game number 5.
2-2 going into game number 5 and handing back over the reins to Mr. Firebat himself as well. And once again, he's giving the eyes and the smirk. Confidence from USA. It seems like every time they win a game, they feel confident, and then Czech Republic come back and they give them a little bite, and they're up again. And this is going so back and forth. Do you think we might even get to that ace match, Dan? I mean, if we do, can you explain to the viewers what an ace match is and why we have it?
I want to get to the ace match because I want to see it at least once during finals weekend. But yeah, ace match is if we get to game number 7. Both teams have set aside one class as the ace class. The 7th player will have to choose between the class they didn't choose earlier or the class they've put aside as the ace match and play against each other with those.
Well, maybe we'll get to the ace match, but first we need to get to game 5 right after this. Welcome back, Hearthstone fans, to the Hearthstone Global Games semi-finals. It's the second semi-final of the day. Czech Republic versus United States, battling out to face off against Ukraine in the grand final tomorrow. Currently, the score is 2-2. This is an absolute slobber knocker. It's a great rivalry between these two teams, and we move into Game 5. Dan. It's going to be Priest and it's going to be Warrior. This is the first time that the players can't pick their decks. Yeah. Of course, the format is slightly different.
So this is something that we never saw in the previous games for the Hearthstone Global Games. Over the first 15 weeks of the group stages, once we got to game number 5, that was it. It was the last game, so that was the ace match. But now, because of the extra few games that get played in the best out of 7, what we do is we go back, the players can choose to play a second time, and if they do, they're forced to play with the deck they didn't bring before. So these are the decks that the guys didn't want to bring earlier. Priest versus Warrior. Popular Priest decks, I think easy big, easy Priest is potentially the way we could be going here.
It's a risk bringing it to a tournament, but it's one of these risks that may be worth it because it is a deck that is so blooming strong. Yeah. When you are able to get Barnes out on turn 4, you can just outright win there.
The dream is coin Barnes and then Eternal Servitude on turn 4, right? Like, then you got a 4-mana 4/8 with Taunt and Lifesteal and Death Rattle.
That is a possibility, but there's also the possibility of the Highlander Priest. Yeah. Now, Highlander Priest being one card of everything, of course, the traditional Reno decks that we've seen. Still Kazakus available, Raza there as well. Really solid Priest decks, but we see a cheeky Barnes on the board, Dan.
I'm not too surprised, because in my little snooping around, in my digging that I did over the last few days, I did see a Hearthstone deck that Stan Sifka had put up with a guide. And it was easy big, easy Priest.
I mean, Czech Republic are already laughing. This is cruel. This is very cruel. And now for United States, they're going to have to just try and put as much damage as possible. There's a Shadow Essence drawn as well for Czech Republic, so this is perfect.
Yeah.
Turn 4, Barnes, win game.
Yeah,
right?
Just, again, add Eternal Servitude, and that's everything you could possibly want.
The only way they don't win the game, I've seen some people throwing Onyx Bishop into the kind of inclusion. That was obviously during the Lich King raids and stuff like that, but you've got to be worried about what you're drawing. If you draw something like a Lich King, and that's a 1/1 taunt, then you can revive, yes, okay, an 8/8 a little bit later, but you really want those Obsidian statues.
Sure, against Pirate Warrior, it's particularly important. Where this deck flourishes is that there aren't many minions that don't have taunt, and actually, I'm looking at Stan Sifka's list that he put on Hearthstone, there was no Ysera in it. Whereas a lot of the big priests we've seen do run Ysera, this seems to only run minions with taunt, apart from Barnes, obviously.
Yeah, when Barnes is already in your hand, you're in a very comfortable spot.
Oh, and Yashraj.
Yeah, and
but that brings out a taunt, so it doesn't matter.
But both Shadowwood Pains being available as well is just huge. I don't know if you need to waste them here. I mean, nothing's waste against Pirate Warrior, right?
You just heal, right? Like, as the big priest, the general game plan is if you don't need to do anything, don't do anything. Your opponent dealt 2 damage, you just heal it back up again. Shadowwood Pain will be perfect for dealing with a Frothing Berserker, a South Sea Captain, anything like that a little bit later on. But in the meantime, it's just not necessary.
So what Czech Republic need is they still need to be able to revive these minions that they are putting on the board as well. I mean, Shadow Essence being able to pull out a 5/5 of something in your deck is going to be great on turn 6.
Dream scenario is that you get Yashraj from the Barnes. That pulls out the Lich King or Obsidian Statue. They are the only other minions in the deck. They will bring out the Lich King or Obsidian Statue. Then they can be pretty comfortable in the fact that they've just won the game.
Yeah, and that's going to be very uncomfortable for the United States as well. This is a very brave decision from the Czech Republic by bringing a big priest, but we've seen the success on ladder in tournaments, so I'm not entirely surprised. Now, this is the closest to groundbreaking we've seen from the Czech Republic when they were saying they were very confident in the decks they brought. This is something that's a little bit more different.
Yeah, and it's been popular for a little while. Big Priest is a popular deck. Yeah, some people say it's inconsistent because you need to draw Barnes, but the thing is, even if, like, yeah, okay, when you do draw Barnes, you've got this huge advantage. When you don't draw Barnes, it's still a good deck. Unless you end up playing Shadow Essence and getting Barnes from that, you're still going to be in a good... Yeah, okay, you're nodding. You've had that happen.
I'm nodding because that happens to me every single time. The Shadow Essence is not going to happen in this game. Czech Republic will be feeling very comfortable, and they have the removal tools. That's what's important. Of course, this deck, you just have a bunch of removal available, and then these minions and these spells to bring your bigger minions onto the board.
Where this deck does, if it's the one that Stan put on Hearthstone, where it does differentiate itself from other big priests is that because it doesn't run Ysera, it runs double Thought Steal instead, as well as the Devouring Mind. So more value generation there. This may just be a more standard list, or that may just be the one that he thinks is the best one.
So the real question is, how does the Pirate Warrior win this game? Well, they hope that there's a bad draw from Barnes, and they hope they can just continuously push through damage, because if an Obsidian Statue does come out with the Yashraj, then you're really struggling, and that's going to be extremely frustrating. However, the flip side, if it is just a Lich King, and let's say the draw of the card that you get into your hand is a bad one, there is a possibility that United States could just ramble out of control here.
Look at that. Shadow Word Pain actually going to be used on a 1-1. So, with a pretty good reason here, we can see there's a Bloodsteel Corsair in hand, and getting rid of the potential for the United States to bring that out, upgrade the weapon, worthwhile. There was the option to play Dread Corsair and Bloodsteel Cultist this turn, but instead, going to go with Naga Corsair and the Dread Corsair. The builds up a slightly bigger board, which means that United States are going to be able to start punishing Czech Republic immediately. But look at that.
Yeah, no thought process, straight into Barnes. Do they get Yasharaj? That would be the optimal.
Oh!
Yes, they do. That's big. That's what they needed. And now they can draw something huge out of their deck. It's an Obsidian statue, an absolute nightmare for the United States. Not only do they have to push that 8 damage, but of course it will kill another minion if they had played it. And now they're just going to be worried, do Czech Republic have the possibility to re-summon this?
Again, I just want to point out, if it's the list that I've been referring to throughout this game so far, there are only 4 other minions in the deck as well as Barnes. Just Yasharaj, 2 Obsidian statues, and the Lich King. It was a 1 in 4 to get Yasharaj. That's not even unlikely. And then it was 100% to get one of these huge taunts.
And look how much damage as well that United States have to sacrifice. Not only are they going to be pushing damage into the statue, but they have to kill Yasharaj as well. They cannot let that live.
And Pokrovac finds himself once again with 30 health. And Firebat has nothing on the board that can't be dealt with.
So the saving grace for the United States is that they will see that Obsidian Statue isn't going to be revived this turn. However, turn 6 coming through, there is going to be a possibility of a 5/5 Obsidian Statue, or of course a Lich King coming out, or another Yasharaj.
Or Yasharaj. There are the 3 minions left in the deck. Yeah, 1 of each, exactly. And all of them feel pretty good if you're Czech Republic right now. Again, all of them have taunt.
And wow, United States thinking about having to trade here as well. Of course, we've seen iterations of Resurrect Priest throughout Hearthstone with the use of things like Onyx Bishop, for example, but the consistency hasn't been there. But now you have the Discover mechanic to revive things, and you get the choice. It means it reduces that random element from it. But now Shadow Essence is just such a good play here, and as you said, a 1 in 3 to get Yasharaj again.
Which would then bring out one of the other taunts as well, and I think just end the game immediately. I think, honestly, no matter what Shadow Essence brings out, this game is over. Sazivka does run double Mind Vision as well as the double Thought Steal and Devouring Mind. Sounds like he really likes the idea of just stealing all of the cards from his opponent's deck. Maybe he hopes for Death Grip every time he plays the Lich King. But yeah, this seems like it's pretty over. Big Priest did its thing and did it perfectly.
So I mean, you say it's over, but let's say Shadow Essence brings out Lich King or another Obsidian statue, for example. Firebat can trade into that, and from what we can see, there's nothing actually available for Czech Republic to resurrect anything. So the game wouldn't be over. Firebat could start putting more damage on the board and potentially just burst through.
I mean, I don't think it even matters that Pokrovac doesn't have anything because, yeah, United States don't have anything either.
I'm an optimist, Dan.
Okay, you can be an optimist, but what United States would need is Arcanite Reaper upgraded several times.
Well, there you go. You can start building your own. We're back here. We're back in the shop in Hall 7.
We are.
We can start building our own, and United States will be maybe kind of dabbing their forehead with a little bit of a towel, like a little bit of a sweat coming on, saying, okay, well, they've not revived it yet. Maybe we have a chance here. It's not gone to plan early on, but there's a Shadow Visions. That can suddenly change everything.
Yeah, I mean, there are several good options now for Pokrovac. He's still got the ability to play the Shadow Essence if he wants to. He can play Dragonfire Potion just to clear the board, or, as you said, grab the Eternal Servitude from Shadow Visions and win the game with that. I don't see any bad plays this turn for Czech Republic. That's the thing. Like, sure, clear the board.
Yes.
I said earlier, this deck's win condition is do nothing until you have to do something.
Build your own Arcanite Reaper, Dan. You said you needed one.
Well, we got there.
We got there in the end. It's actually better than an Arcanite Reaper. A 5/3, they can start pushing the damage, but Czech Republic are just, they're cruising at the moment. They've got their hands, they should have their hands behind their head, and they're saying, okay, we can take our time.
Wow.
We've got Shadow Essence, we've got Shadow Visions into the possible Eternal Servitude. We could just win this game outright.
For a second, it really looked like Firebat was going to be greedy there and not hit him with the weapon and try and build it up.
Shadow Visions anyway, Dan? You can just draw it.
I don't know, Dan. I don't know. Things are looking bad for one of these teams right now. as Czech Republic are continuing this pattern that we've had for this entire series so far. They win a game, United States wins a game, they win a game. But if it carries on like this, Czech Republic do win the final game.
That's true. It's a shame things don't work like that in real life, though, Dan.
They don't.
No, patterns don't just win
I
things.
like the pattern, Dan.
It's okay. I know you like drawings and bright colours and stuff like that. It's fine.
We'd both predicted before that we thought that the Czech Republic actually had a little bit of an edge here and the ability to win the whole Hearthstone Global Games because of their deck building. It looks like they may still win it, but not necessarily for the reason we expected. They've just surprised everyone by playing more standard decks.
So Yashraj could bring one of three. It's the Lich King that joins us. The Lich King who has been ever present here at Gamescom with his 1 million health. A little bit different
This
as
one
an
doesn't
8/8.
have,
No.
yeah.
Not as much to get through for the United States here. They can get through him, but they then can't kill that 10/10 that's on the board. A little bit awkward.
So interestingly, Shadow Essence now can't pull out the Lich King, can still bring out Yashraj and still bring out Obsidian statues. So that's a lot of life steal that Pokevac is going to have 100% of the time from now on. Yeah, Firebat can clear up the Lich King, no problem. But then what? Like, there is going to be at least one Obsidian statue sitting on the board at the end of this turn.
Yeah.
If not two.
If not two as well. And the Dragonfire Potion if you're really worried as well. I mean, there's not really any reason to be worried, but you can play this so safe. Clear the board. You have a 10/10 that becomes, what, 10/6 after you heal it, 10/7. And then you just push 10 damage. This game is pretty much done and dusted. United States are probably going to play it out, wait for a draw, but no. Fireback concedes. Czech Republic 3-2 with easy big priest. Easy.
Easy big, easy priest.
It was easy as well.
It was pretty easy for them, but that's what Barnes will do nice and early in the game. Double Shadowword Pain in the opening hand as well to clear up the cheap threats. Even Patches had a Shadowword Pain used on it. Things are looking very good for the Czech Republic now, who only need to win one more game to be through to the finals along with Ukraine.
And now Dog takes the reins, he takes the responsibility, and now this is the Dog we spoke to earlier. When he looked at the potential matchups, he said, I'm not liking either of these, Dan. I don't think this is going to be too great. Looking at my decks, looking at their possible decks that they could have, their on-meta decks, I think I've low-rolled here. I think I might struggle to even take a game, and if that is the case, you're completely right. It will be Czech Republic that would join Ukraine in the grand final. And what a disappointment that would be for the United States as well. I heard a lot of talk from Amnesiac out the back saying, when Ukraine won and they walked past him, he said, oh, we'll see you tomorrow. And it's like, okay, well, suddenly this is looking a little bit different as we move into Game 6, which is going to be Paladin versus the Priest. I wonder, Dan, whether Dog's going to try and do a little bit of Barnesing himself.
Easy big, easy priest the other way around, maybe. Again, don't forget, this is the second series in which the players were forced to play one of their two specific decks. So every time, Paladin versus Priest for these guys. Of course, the Priest we haven't mentioned yet because we were talking about Big Priest so much and then it came up. We haven't talked about Highlander Priest or Kazakus Priest or whatever you want to call it at the moment. Using Raza with Shadow Reaper Anduin is just such a strong combo. 0 mana hero power, which you can use before, like at the start of your turn, and then every single time you play a card is insane. And it is another very, very strong deck.
And it's hard to judge as well. Like, usually a player like Dog and the United States as a team, I would say they would more likely bring something like a Highlander Priest, but you never know. Surprises can always be good. Save it for finals. As Sotul always says, 2-3. Czech Republic currently have the lead. Can United States tie this one up? Or are Czech Republic going to be heading into that grand final versus Ukraine? This could be potentially the last game of the day. Let's hope it's a good one.
Look at this, it's going to be Dragon Priest.
So not only, right, okay, so Czech Republic, not only did they get Barnes in the last game, but now they get Murloc Tidecooler into Rockpool Hunter and a Righteous Protector as well. I mean, this seems like,
know what, Dan?
Pretty good luck.
Groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking decks.
Groundbreaking decks from Czech Republic. This is, I'm going to have words with Czech Cloud later.
But what a feeling. What a feeling it must be to be on stage in front of hundreds, thousands of people and being able to draw the absolute nuts. Being able to say, yep, we've drawn the perfect cards to start with. We're feeling confident. We have a chance here to move on to the grand finals. The only worry for Czech Republic is they have no idea what they're facing off, of course.
Yeah, at least for the time being. We have seen different Paladins from their side as well. Obviously, South Korea earlier. We're playing...
Heyo, that's an inner fire as well. So this is something a little bit different.
Because of Shadow Visions, it just fits into the deck,
Yeah.
right? Like, this combo is just more consistent nowadays. Korea were using a more control-y paladin earlier with Uther of the Ebon Blade.
Yep.
United States may be expecting something more like that, or they like us, may have just got the gist now that they're just playing normal stuff.
And this is the thing, though. You can't expect anything because another region has been playing it. Because we have the cross regions in Hearthstone, the metas are slightly different when you go from server to server. I mean, you can go on Europe, it's very hard. Then you go on North America, and it's very easy. That's how it works,
Yeah.
right? Don't tell the American team I said that, please.
I think they probably heard you down.
No, they didn't. They got headsets on. It's fine.
Okay.
So, an easy decision for a turn one, you'd think, but of course, you've got to look for that optimal play. The Inquisitor could be played.
Yeah.
It's less likely to be challenged by a 1-3.
Well, it's the coin that makes this decision difficult, right?
Correct.
Like, do you play both Mercs and then buff up whichever one survives if one of them does get destroyed? That does seem pretty strong. Do you just kind of take the risk and just play the one, use the coin later with Corpse Taker? Just play the one, gonna get rewarded by it as well by the looks of things.
Wow, Radiant Elemental off the top.
Wait,
you
in a
can
fire?
play in a fire, and you
Oh,
make a 3-3 cleric here, be able to trade, you control the board, and you're like, okay, well, you can have as many Murlocs as you like, but suddenly we're playing the aggressor.
Yeah, this is so unexpected on both sides. Dragon Priest also been a consistent deck, a little bit like J Druid for a long time, ever since Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. It's still got good tools, even though a lot of the dragons rotated out. And because of Shadow Visions, the Divine Spirit in a Fire combo is more consistent in every Priest deck. United States seem to have made this work for them.
I mean, I spoke about an amazing start for Czech Republic, but United States, Cleric into Radiant Elemental, into Inner Fire, into a Cabal Talon Priest next. That is a stonking board that Czech Republic are going to be looking at, and how on earth are you supposed to challenge that?
I mean, what's better than an amazing start, Dan? An amazing start that counters your opponent's amazing start. That's what's better.
And thankfully for Czech Republic, they can make a 2-4, which is a little bit more awkward to trade into. Power Word Shield is going to be a fantastic draw for United States as well, where they can just make one of these minions even more juicy and even bigger. Of course, you will start the turn with Power Word Shield just to draw first and see what you get, even though Talon Priest does look very inviting.
That is a punch in the gut for Czech Republic. All of the buffs of the health of these minions, which just aren't going anywhere. This Priest, very reminiscent of a zoo deck at the moment. It's just doing the thing. The minions are sticking to the board and taking out these Murlocs one at a time. That Rockball Hunter is going to be helpful. It does allow this Murloc, this Valfin Inquisitor, to deal with Radiant Elemental. But it still doesn't do much to take back this board.
And the one thing you don't want a Priest doing is drawing cards. And you're leaving the Cleric on the board there. A Cleric that can start healing up, start drawing more. Shadow Vision's available for USA as well. They're in a decent position, but I've said that several times already in this series, that USA have been in a good position, and Czech Republic have flip reversed it.
Oh, okay. Cobalt Scalebane, a card that you see a lot of in Arena. It's a very decent 5-drop. 5 mana, 5/5. At the end of your turn, another minion gains 3 attack. And United States have got board control here. So it looks like next turn, if they want to, there you go, they may be able to put that down and start buffing the other minions. Alternatively, as it is the only dragon in hand, they may just prefer to play the Draconid Operative.
Yeah, of course, the Operative does seem like a play that you'd go for unless they draw another dragon, and then they could just change their mind a little bit. But look at this board pressure. Corpse Taker is available for Czech Republic. Of course, they'll have Divine Shield in there. They'll probably have Lifesteal as well from Wicker Flame. So this is going to be a little bit of a nuisance, but nothing that I think United States are going to be worrying about, especially as they have the option, if they really want Shadow Visions, they could just look for Shadowwood Pain.
Yeah, that is an option. The United States seem to have everything they could want behind themselves. There's no Tyrion in Czech Republic's hand just yet, which means the Draconid Operative could well also be picking up a Tyrion.
Yeah, Czech Republic not taking that risk. They said we need to deal with this board ASAP, and they start doing so. And now we have that decision, Dan. I mean, Draconid Operative seems like the optimal, and as you said, pulling something like a Tyrion would be massive. Tarim, it can be good. I mean, you've got board control right now, so I'm happy with it.
Tarim's okay, not as good in Priest as it is in Paladin, where you can keep spitting out 1/1s with your hero power. Rallying Blade might be tempting. Priests don't have any weapons.
Yeah.
Gonna take that just as a means of continuing to aggressively control this board and maybe even push some of the damage into the face.
Second Rallying Blade for Czech Republic isn't going to be welcome at the moment. It might be a possibility to buff up that Corpse Taker a little bit later, but very unlikely looking at the strength of the United States board. And I love the pick of Rallying Blade, actually, because it might just be something you need to take out just a pesky minion that's on the board, or, as you say, push a little bit more damage. Repentance, Eye for an Eye, or Redemption. Redemption is the one chosen. I guess with the Hydrologist, that could be alright, get another secret, but if Dog plays this correctly, you're just giving them back a 1-1.
Dan, right at the start of this game, you highlighted how strong a hand Czech Republic had. I completely agreed with you. The hand was insane, but United States have somehow picked it apart piece by piece, and now look at them continuing to establish complete board dominance. They can play Radiant Elemental, Rallying Blade into the 2-2, probably just go face with the Draconid Operative. Like, there's not even much need to trade anymore.
And good ordering as well, regardless of secret there from Dog, just making sure he revives a 1-1 rather than a 2-1. These are the plays that you'd expect from the pro players, of course. I wouldn't expect anything different, and now this is where the Rallying Blade's going to come in handy, Dan. And it's just such control, and I'm wondering how Czech Republic are getting it back into this one, because Spike Rich Steed isn't going to be able to play.
I'm surprised to see United States making that trade, but it just doesn't matter. Czech Republic going to use the concede right there. United States takes their third win. We are going all the way to the ace match today in the second semi-final of the Hearthstone Global Games.
Not only are we going to an ace match, but we're going to a Szech versus Amnesiac rematch of a rematch. They played twice in Phase 2, and they're going to be playing twice here again at the Global Games Finals.
Yeah, so Szech won both games in Phase 2 in this matchup, but Amnesiac did beat Szech earlier today, so he's hoping he can continue what he started earlier. Oh my goodness, it does not get better than this time.
I mean, this is what the matchup deserved, right? We deserve to go to an ace match. These are some of the best players in the world competing to get to that grand final against Ukraine. There's so much on the line, not just money, pride, national pride. You've got your whole country watching you, rooting for you, and it all comes down to this. Amnesiac, very focused, looks like he really wants this one. But this is, I'm so happy. I'm so happy we got here, Dan.
This is what we wanted. When we first saw this matchup was going to happen, when we saw the sequence of the players, like, yeah, we need to go to the ace match. We need to see this happen again. And boy, I just could not wait to see how it goes down now.
You know, earlier when I said nerves won't come into play because these players are so kind of well-practiced in these tournaments, I take that back. They are going to be so nervous right now as we get into the ace match, and it is going to be Mage versus Rogue.
Now, speaking of nervous, this is the same matchup that we had earlier with these same guys, but flipped the other way. And we said that the Mage does seem to be a pretty clear favorite here. Obviously, depending on exactly which Mage deck it is.
Yeah, Mage is in an interesting spot since Frozen Throne. I mean, Freeze Mage is still very popular. Of course, Quest Mage is still very popular
Quest
as well.
Mage seems to have taken a step forward and sort of overshadowed Freeze Mage, at least at the moment.
Well, the reason why I thought Quest Mage was going to be brought quite a lot in this tournament was because it's so successful against J Druid at the moment.
Sure.
It's got a very high win rate against it, but it's a deck that can really struggle against some aggro decks. But of course, it can do well as well. So it's a good one to bring. Of course, there is the Jaina deck as well, the Death Knight deck that's available, a little bit more control-orientated in comparison to like a Secrets Mage.
It's true. There are a lot of possibilities for Mage at the moment. Frostlich Jaina has added kind of all this elemental synergy. Pyros becomes an insane card. But based on what we've seen so far from the Czech Republic, I am expecting to just see Quest Mage or Secret Mage.
Well, Game 7 is about to get underway. If you're here at Gamescom, I want to hear a round of applause for these players because what a series we've had on our hands. And one of these teams is going to be heading into the grand finals. Is it going to be United States? Is it going to be Czech Republic? Let's find out right about now, Dan.
It looks like it is going to be Secret Mage. I guess it could be the old Gunther Mage, Discover Mage, Burn Mage, whatever you want to call that deck. But Manowar, Medivh Valet, it's going to be aggressive. It's not going to be the Quest Mage. So we could just see a repeat performance from earlier. But with Szech coming out on top, such an important game for both players, for their teams, for their countries, for their pride, and for a place in the finals.
And these are the two players that have said they are the shot callers of this team.
Yeah.
They have the overriding opinion when there is any sort of debate, so it's quite fitting that they've put themselves into this 8th match, and it's not a coincidence that they're here for game number 7. They know that they want the responsibility of winning this game if it does come down to this situation. We do see a frost over there as well, Dan.
So it looks like it's going to be more, maybe even Freeze Mage, or maybe Discover Gunther Mage, that type of deck. Started running cards like Frost Nova Doomsayer sometimes. Volcanic Potion as well, though.
So Questing Adventure is there as well for Amnesiac, and his Rogue, of course, can be a very pesky card. They can get very large, just like an Edwin. A little bit more difficult to pull off in some situations.
It is Freeze Mage. This is confusing. Either way, Freeze Mage also equally favored.
Well, I mean, this is where we were after Unguro came out, right? We saw the Gunther, the Discover Mage, which was like a hybrid of Freeze Mage slash Aggro Mage slash Secret Mage. It was a little bit of everything, and I think that's where we are with this Czech Republic deck as well, because we can see the Volcanic Potion, which deals with aggro. We see the Frost Nova, the Doomsayer, deals with aggro, but we've also got the Mana Worm there, which is a little bit of aggro on your side.
Now, Miracle Rogue has a very hard time against Freeze Mage, because again, same reasons as earlier, no way of healing back the damage that the Mage is dealing. But the fact that Ice Block also exists, sometimes the Miracle Rogue will have this big blowout turn where they'll deal all the damage at once, and then the Mage will just win after that.
Okay, let's say it is a variant of Freeze Mage then. What is on the side of the Rogue and what is different from the previous iteration before this expansion is Valera, the Death Knight.
Sure.
You can be hidden, of course. You could just conceal yourself for one turn. You get your own Ice Block. And you've got those Swashbucklers. It means you can potentially get some Ice Blocks of your own.
Yep.
It's a winnable game. It 100% is a winnable game. I think I've seen it won by various pros because of Valera. That's if you're running it, though. I'd expect them to, because it's so strong.
It seems to be standard nowadays in Miracle Rogue lists, though it's still a little bit early to call anything standard in the Frozen Throne meta. Still, many things are going to be changing over the next few weeks. Just another parallel I'd like to draw between this game and the one we had earlier. The Rogue did have the coin both times. Obviously, there's no counterspell shenanigans going on from Czech Republic here, but Amnesiac going to straight away go all in here on this Questing Adventure. I like to see this.
Yeah, and if you can draw something good here,
That'll do.
a backstab's going to help, but he's not going to play it. Okay.
Well, I guess even if there was a Frostbolt, backstab didn't really do anything, because the trade still happens, the Frostbolt still finishes off the questing, even if it's a 5-5. So I don't mind keeping the questing like this. I don't know if backstab beats any other card. I don't think so.
One thing I've learned throughout the global games is to never question a play by a player whose name ends with C. Now, you've questioned it a few times, George C, the UK Savage.
Backstab would have stopped that play, by the way.
It would have, yeah. But now you've got your Edwin, so now you've got your spells to possibly use a little bit later to just make a giant Edwin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Dream Scenario, we can see it right now. Double backstab, prep, spell, Edwin. That looks pretty good. United States just needs to pick up a spell, but they need Czech Republic to play a couple minions as well. It doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. Doomsayer probably going to be played for tempo a little bit later, just to prevent Amnesiac from making a play the following turn.
Are you tempted by Doomsayer here, then? I mean, it's so greedy, I guess, to say I want to keep Doomsayer with Frost Nova, but it happens so often. You don't want to just throw a Doomsayer into the wind. So
you could argue that you could play it then to prevent Sherazin Corpse Flower from coming down the following turn. You could play Doomsayer on turn 5 to prevent Gadgetzan Auctioneer from coming down on turn 6. There are a lot of ways you can use Doomsayer. The most important thing in this sort of situation is thinking about what you're preventing your opponent from doing next turn, rather than what you're destroying this turn.
Czech Republic are opting just to keep that Doomsayer back for now. Yep. Draw some more cards. Archaeologist there as well. Flame Strike, plenty of removal options. But as you said earlier, no minion played, so it means that this Edwin is not going to get very big at all, and we're just going to see the dagger up and pass, I would assume.
At what point do United States start to suspect that this is a Freeze Mage? They've still not seen many cards. They've only seen the Mana Worms and Volcanic Potion and Arcane Intellect, all of which are pretty standard in many Mage lists right now.
I'm just struggling to call it Freeze Mage is the thing.
Yeah,
like,
there's a Frostbolt, does that help?
That's pretty cold, it's pretty chilly, but with the Mana Worms in there, I mean, I just want to call it like the Discover Mage as well.
It's one of the hybrids, right? Like we saw a lot of this type of deck towards the end of Ungoro, where people were just making Mage, like control-y, freezy, combo-y, Gunther-y, Discovery Mage, where they all mixed up and became one deck.
And we may see something like a Medivh coming in a little bit later.
Yeah.
Of course, Alex Straza will be very good. I think Amnesiac and the team will have a very good idea of what this could be after what they've seen.
It'll be Medivh or Antonidas, and yeah, I'd say it's more likely at this stage that it'll be a Medivh. Do we ever see Frostledge Jaina in this deck?
I mean, there's a possibility if this is a control variant. I mean, some people have just thrown Frostledge Jaina into Discover Mage and said, well, she's a pretty good card, you can gain some armor, you can start getting some lifesteal, why not? As the second Ice Block is drawn, and Czech Republic now are taking their time. I am not entirely surprised. I was kind of expecting this last game to go this way. Lots of roping, lots of thought process, as a Razor Petal is available, so that means you can start getting some more spells, not only for making a big Edwin, but also for that Gadgets and Auctioneer.
Yeah, it's a very nice way of testing for Mirror Entity as well, just in case. That's tested for Counterspell, had a second backstab if they did get Counterspelled. Now we test for Mirror Entity, you drop the Razor Petal Lasher, then you could maybe just drop Edwin. Maybe you backstab one of your minions if you want to make it bigger. I don't think so, though. I think 6/6 is probably fine here. Oh!
Wow, I think he's going all in with this Edwin here. Gonna prep out
the
Razor Petal. Then you could backstab your own SI7 agent if you wanted to.
That's too much.
The Brotherhood shall
The only downside to this play is that you kind of lose your potential for Gadgets and Auctioneer the turn after.
That's why he saved one backstab, right? He saved it as I can at least draw something with my Auctioneer, but
one backstab is not going to deal with Frost Nova and 2 Doomsayers.
it's not. But you know what would?
What?
I mean, some form of removal, which Rogue have a lot of. Valspine Slayer coming off the top would be big for Amnesiac.
Yeah, and I mean, Stansifica can only play Frost Nova plus 1 Doomsayer, and then I guess Frost Nova plus the other Doomsayer next turn. It's going to be very hard, I think, for Amnesiac to ever push this 10/10 into the face, though.
Yeah, I don't see this Edwin hitting face. Not anytime soon, anyway. You'd need the perfect draw of 2 Valspine Slayers, one after another, with... Well, that's not even going to work, because the Arcane Giant wouldn't be low enough to activate it. So Czech Republic in a decent position here. And I wonder whether we're going to see Stansifica win the battle. Swashbuckler is available as well. I mean, an Ice Block is something that we spoke about that could be massive.
Yeah, it tends to be one of the best spells you can get in this matchup from Swashbuckler.
Fireball would be pretty good in this situation as well, being able to remove the Doomsayer.
Yeah. Anyway, even a... there are quite a few ways that you can remove it, because you got the backstab as well with the weapon. Forbidden Flame would do it as well. Patches might help.
Babbling Book can search for more, but you are committing more to the board, and I think you do have to search for it.
Yep.
You've got an idea now of what you're playing against.
No.
Mana Bind is not going to be at all helpful currently. It may give you a nice bit of damage a little bit later. It might give you something to help out in this matchup, but you're going to be waving goodbye to that 10/10 Edwin that you've just put on the board.
It's an interesting point, actually. What will this Mana Bind get? I don't see Stansifica playing any of his spells this turn. Just dropping Medivh's Valet, maybe even dropping Doomsayer instead, just to make sure that Amnesiac gets another turn where he can't play anything. But Mana Bind's not going to go off just yet.
And we're asking the same question that we were asking before, though. We're saying, do you drop the Doomsayer for tempo, or do you wait until they've built up some sort of big board, and then you've got Frost Nova plus Doomsayer? It's too tempting not to keep it. So I think you're right. I think just maybe a Medivh's Valet and 3 damage to the face might be the option here for Czech Republic. A lot of discussion going on, though, from the Czech Republic. As you can see, Stan with his hand just covering his head there. I mean, this is a stressful situation, right,
Yeah.
Dan? I mean, like, 3-3, everything on the line, and everyone's eyes are looking at you as well. If the team loses, they're going to say, well, you played the ace match.
Let's be realistic here. These guys have both played in a lot of tournaments. Amnesiac was at BlizzCon last year. But this will still be one of the most important games of Hearthstone that these guys have ever played. They want to win it for their country. Hallucination from Mimic Pod is very, very good. 2 chances to get Ice Block.
Interesting, he's saving it as well for his Auctioneer. Of course, people will say, oh, they could have played both Hallucinations and then the Arcane Giant if you wanted
This
to
is
then.
so
but
good, though, with Auctioneer.
yeah, you wait and you start drawing through your deck, and you need to find a way to actually win this game. And it might be Valera. We haven't seen an Eviscerate yet. And of course, Valera, you get that new hero power that allows you to copy a card every time you play it. So
Once per turn, one of your cards just gets copied.
yeah, and that's crazy. Think about how much damage you've got a possibility for that for Eviscerates. I mean, one turn you can deal 8 damage, next turn you deal another 8. That's 16 already.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether it would be a little too late against this Discover Mage, as Medivh is now available to be dropped onto the board as well.
Doomsayer, Frost Nova as well, I imagine. Maybe we just Frostbolt it.
It's difficult because naturally you wouldn't want to waste the damage, but the Frost Nova might become very valuable a little bit later on. And of course, you're going to be considering about what the secret was.
Well, if it was Counterspell, like, Czech Republic weren't too worried. They just played both. Play one against Counterspell, play the other one. They probably will have considered Mana Bind, decided they'd prefer to give their opponent a 0-mana Frostbolt. I guess. I don't imagine Czech Republic ignoring the possibility. Now that Doomsayer is probably going to go off. Oh!
Well, now we're going to see everything drawn from the deck from the United States. And I love what Czech Republic did there as well, by the way. They put that Arcane Giant down to just 1 health in case the Doomsayer is removed.
And yeah, now Amnesiac does have the damage to get rid of Doomslayer as well. He was 1 off even without the Eviscerate. There's 2 Eviscerates! You predicted this, Dan. It's like you foresaw it.
It's like I know what's in the deck.
Valera is going to come down later. Maybe. Oh, hang on.
Wow, okay. That was a quick snap
Okay,
pick.
okay.
You know Ice Block is a definite decision, but you saw a Death Knight, you got excited.
I just had a slight panic attack. We're fine.
It's always tempting when you see another Death Knight from an opposing class because you want to just change your character mid-game, but
not
Ice
in
Block,
a game in as important as this.
Not when you're trying to get to the grand final of the global games, and an Ice Block is just so impactful in this matchup.
Look at that, Amnesiac cleaning the board very nicely. 2 Frostbolts in hand, Ice Block, which does make all of the difference. 1 turn, the Rogue just survives, and then potentially wins the next turn. If there is a Valera, Amnesiac, the United States are going to want to see that as soon as possible. Like, they want it to be the next draw.
It's interesting because do you want to play it? I think no. I think you wait until you're worried about a lethal threat from your opponent, and then you use it as a type of Ice Block. You're stealthed, you're concealed for that turn, and there is no way for Czech Republic to finish you off unless, of course, something like an Arcane Missiles came out, something that can deal damage randomly rather than directly to your face.
Firelance Portal, and the Ping cleaning up the board, dropping a 5/6. That's a pretty good Firelance Portal, that right there.
Vastbind Slayer has been something that's been so impactful in Rogue ever since Guro. It's kind of made Rogue just so fantastic and very favorable in a lot of matches.
It's like the Rogue's only way of dealing with things without using like lots of little spells, right? There used to be cards like Deadly Poison, Blade Flurry, Tinkmaster Sharpsword, Oil. That used to be able to deal with minions, but now Rogues usually have to use spells. Vastbind Slayer negates that entirely. United States are back on the board. Czech Republic probably going to need to consider just dropping Medivh here, unless they want to prevent United States from getting more Mage cards, in which case they have to Flame Strike, or even Frost Nova.
It's a sticky situation. I mean, I would say I'm not worried about my opponent getting Mage cards, but knowing that Ice Block is a possibility and how Ice Block can just win you a game, because there is a lot of damage that can come out from the Rogue. I mean, especially when Valera comes down, so maybe that is a consideration from the Czech Republic. Maybe they want to get rid of this board. They say we don't need to drop Medivh right now. Let's just clean this up, see what they put on the board, and then next turn we could drop Medivh. Yeah.
Nope. Gonna just go for it now. They decide that they need to win the game sooner rather than later. This allows them to Flame Strike next turn, put a 7-drop on the board, as well as, I guess, Acolyte of Pain or whatever else. Prince Valinor, there are no 4-drops in this deck, huh? No Sherazin.
Well, that's the first Prince we've seen this tournament. Of course, one of the newer cards since the Frozen Throne was released, and it is a good way of gaining some health back, of course, if you are facing off against some sort of aggro deck.
I've talked multiple times this series about the fact that Rogue has no healing apart from the 5 armor that Valera gets, but hey, that's healing. Usually.
No Sherazin?
Yeah.
No Sherazin in this deck.
That's sad. I love that happy little guy.
Is he happy?
I think he's happy.
He looks very angry. I wouldn't go anywhere near him,
I think he has a huge smile. Golden animation's beautiful.
I don't know. You concern me sometimes. Now, United States are just looking at how they're going to be removing this 7/7. There are various options. They've got the spells, but you don't want to be using some of that direct damage. You want to be saving it to try and win this game at some point. I mean, USA are going to be starting to count how much damage can we actually push to face.
At the moment, focusing on just clearing up, or at least preventing the damage coming in from Medivh the Guardian.
Yeah, this guy's
really pushing now. Still got an Ice Block to get through, then another Ice Block to get through, but Czech Republic also have an Ice Block to get through. Rogue actually has a lot less cards left in the deck.
Now this is why I said I was reluctant to call this a freeze mage from Czech Republic. This is obviously the Discover variant. Now freeze has that wombo combo of Alexstrasza into damage, damage, damage.
Sure.
Whereas the Discover mage works a little bit differently. It chips away at you and then it finishes you off with the likes of Medivh building a board. Of course there are still fireballs, there are still frostbolts that are available, Firelands portals as well. But they've not been able to put themselves in a position where they freeze into a lethal on turn 10.
I don't think it matters too much. The mage is just in such a solid position still. 13 cards left in the deck. Rogue down to 5. Gadgetzan Auctioneer pretty much unplayable at this point. Valeera nowhere to be seen if it is in the deck, that it's not a good card to be picking up in the bottom few cards. I don't know how the United States come back from this.
Well, the way they come back is by finding a way to push damage with Valeera as well. By playing Valeera after you've popped an Ice Block, perhaps, getting that Eviscerate, getting 2 Eviscerates and being able to push the damage, you need to try and out Ice Block your opponent and have the damage to pop it as well. But that's going to be very difficult to do, especially when there's so much damage that's currently on the board for Czech Republic, and that's why Amnesiac is doing his best just to remove it, trying to contest this board so he can push as much damage with his own minions.
Questing Adventure number 2.
I'm almost out of cards.
I think we're starting to see the end here, Dan.
I think we could call this Freeze Rogue.
This
the amount
has
of extra freeze cards that Amnesiac picked up.
This has been a long road for both teams. The United States, I feel, are starting to fall away ever so slightly. The Czech Republic should start to get a little bit excited because they're edging ever closer to this grand final.
I mean, the thing is about all of these ice blocks that both teams have, they mean very little when there's no cards left in your deck and you're dying to fatigue damage. Ice blocks do not stop that from happening.
And the problem is for Amnesiac as well is he's just not able to build up any boards. So Stan Sivka is going to be able to trade into this Auctioneer very comfortably.
Or just leave it alive.
Yeah, okay.
It just prevents the United States from playing spells anymore.
It's whether you're scared about that 4 damage going into your face.
Sure.
That's the only concern. I think you just remove it. You have as much on the board as possible, and you say you beg the question of United States: how are you going to win this game? You've got 1 card left. If they've been tracking it, they will think it's potentially Valeera United States, but that will remain to be seen if it is in the deck at all.
Yeah, I mean, Valeera appears in a lot of Miracle Rogue decks nowadays. I don't think it's quite made it into all of them just yet.
Well, some see it as a tech card,
yeah,
but usually it's the tech against matchups like this, when it is used as like an extra ice block, or against aggro decks as an extra ice block. But one card that we will actually be put out of our misery very shortly to see whether it is. And Stan Sivka, as I said, is just building up the board now, piling on the pressure, and the sweat should start dripping from the United States' heads at this point. This is a very, very sticky situation. It's not Valeera, it's a second Arcane Giant.
Makes sense.
And now they just need to try and do what they can to build up a board here, Dan.
It's final push time now. Questing Adventure comes down, Arcane Giant comes down with as many other things as possible. Swashbuckler seems pretty good here to buff up the Questing Adventurer a little bit more. There is a taunt in the hand in the form of Prince Valinar.
So what, Questing Adventure into Swashbuckler, into the Prince, into the Arcane Giant, into the Frostbolt, and you have got 2 fairly large minions on the board. Now, we know there's Blizzard available, but the Blizzard isn't going to kill them.
No, it just slows them down for 1 turn. Vastbind Slayer being used on the Acolyte of Pain to completely deny any card draw from the Czech Republic. The Questing Adventurer is a 5/5, so according to the board alone, Czech Republic have no way of dealing with it. However, Blizzard will put a stop to it for 1 turn, and Fireball will do whatever it wants. This game is all but over now.
What do you kill off with this Fireball, though? Do you take down the 8/6, or do you take down the Questing Adventurer in case you're worried about it? But yeah, this is so easy. Use a ping now, save the Fireball for next turn. Amnesiac and USA can do pretty much nothing. They can play what they can, hope for a miracle from the Swashbuckler. But
no miracles left for this Miracle Rogue. Thank you very much, Dan. But as we gave them the edge very slightly at the beginning, but what a phenomenally close series all the way through. It looks like the Czech Republic are going to be facing off against Ukraine in the final.
The United States are going to play this right to the bitter end. I mean, I know Amnesiac, and I know he's not going to concede. He's going to be thinking about every possible out here. Is there a way that we can win? He can play the Prince, he can get a little bit of health back possibility, and he's thinking we might be able to push enough damage if they've whiffed with their card draws. It could be an ice block and an ice barrier in the hand for Szech for all he knows. But we can see the fireball. The fireball could make such a big difference because it takes down that Arcane Giant. The Arcane Giant being the big damage dealer from the United States.
And the other big difference in this game is the fact that Szech still has 10 cards left in his deck. 10 is a much better number in this regard than 0.
Frostbolt available as well. All the tools to just clear up this board. One card remains for the United States. It's an ice barrier. That's not going to help win this matchup.
And what random mage card would help in this situation? I can't think of any.
Yeah, there are very little. I mean, you could get Yogg. No, you can't. It's not a mage card, so it's not going to help. That is the only out that I could realistically think for the United States. We've come a long way. There was 48 teams that started in the Hearthstone Global Games. The United States were one of the favorites to get to the grand final. They were all very confident coming into this, but so were the Czech Republic. And rightly so, because the Czech Republic have been a dominant force throughout, and they will be the team that are heading to the grand final to face off against Ukraine. Smiles all round. Szech will shake the hand of his opposition, but what a victory for Czech Republic. Heartbreak for the United States.
Heartbreak for the United States, but feels pretty good for those of us that are here representing EU, seeing an all-EU final.